my self-esteem, even though I was building it up and I lost weight and stuff like that, I'm now around the most uncommon of uncommon people. And I'm like, my God, I'm here. Do I belong here? Do I belong? Do I belong here? So your mind has a good way of taking the path of least resistance. Whenever friction happens, friction causes growth. Whenever friction happens, that's why a lot of us don't have any growth, because when friction happens, we go the opposite direction. So in my mind, when friction happened, my mind said, oh, hey, man, let's get out of here. You're not real. Right. You've lied your whole life. You come from this, you can barely read. Those things, so whenever times got hard, my mind said, you're not good enough. Right. Let's go. Right. So my mind wasn't, my eyes, my mind weren't connecting. Right. So how you combat that is this. I call it the cookie jar. You have to remind yourself. We all have a story. We've all of us have gone through very hard times. But when we're in a hard time, our mind has a way of forgetting what all we've overcome. I have a way of taking 1 second when I want to quit and saying, okay, you endured this. So I look at my life and how I came up as the ultimate training ground versus most people look at it as why? Woe is me, God, why?
Right, exactly.
Why?
Right.
I had to flip this upside down and say, hang on a second. God was training me to be one of the baddest men on the planet.
Absolutely.
That's how this was my journey. Because those things beat me, but they didn't kill me. And I was able to work around them and figure out ways through it. So when I was in the worst time of my life in Hell Week, I looked at everybody and said, I'm the most trained person here. I've gone through more mental torture than any of you all can even fathom. So I'm looking at the baddest people on the planet. I'm looking at them like this. You guys can't hold a stick. So I started looking at verses like, I don't belong here, versus like, I might be the baddest person to ever come here. Who could have pulled this off? Mm-hmm. Who could have been given a sewer to live in their mind and say, okay, at birth, I'm going to put you in the worst place on the planet Earth, and let me see if you can go to the top of the mountain with nothing, but just hard work, grit, and figuring it out, and not putting yourself back in the dungeon every time something got hard. So that's what became my daily voice was, you really are the baddest person on the planet. Right. And after a period of time, you start to believe that. Right. And so that's what happened to the first Hell Week, the second Hell Week, the third Hell Week. That became my new norm. Yeah. So what most people fear, I can never go through one. I don't want to go through two. Even SEALs will tell you that. That Navy, so I did 18 months in Navy SEAL training. It's only supposed to be 6 months long. Right. It became my new norm. Right. And that's what we don't do enough of. You're always looking for a new norm. And that's how my mind started saying, getting beat, getting tortured, suffering, broken legs, kidney issues. This is my new norm. And my mind started changing with the reality of who I want to be.
Yeah.
A few years ago, the Navy SEALs designed a program called the BADDEST Prep Program. In my last 2 years in the military, I did 21 years. Mm-hmm. They sent me down into Great Lakes, Chicago, and we were training these guys to get ready to go to BADDEST, SEAL training, because a lot of guys weren't getting through. We thought this program would help them get through. So these guys would leave our program studs, push-ups, sit-ups, swimming, everything. But the numbers were the exact same. So I was scratching my head, like, how in the world can these guys go through 2 months of this before they get to BADDEST and still quit? Now, we'll answer your question in a second. I started going back through my mind and realizing one thing. We were building bigger, stronger, faster quitters. Why is that? If you don't work on the one thing, the most powerful weapon in the world is your mind. So the answer to your question is this. Whether it be physical pain or mental pain, we all have to start from zero with pain. And what that means is, if you don't go back, we all have something that bothers us. Everybody in this world is insecure about something. Something in life, whether it be your family, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your wife, your husband, your kids, something has messed you up. And whenever you're in physical pain, even though you might not be thinking about that mental stuff that happened to you, your mind is thinking about it. All these dungeons that we've created, all these trap doors that our life has created, Most of the time we quit is because we don't have any mental tools to get us through the other side. So my whole thing for people is you have to examine, why are you doing it in the first place? What makes people quit so much in SEAL training and in all other special ops training is the mind. It's always comfortable to sit there, you're watching the Navy SEAL show, Discovery Channel, you're in a 72-degree house, you have your lemonade, your milkshake. I can do that, because it feels very comfortable. The second you get out there in that environment where it's 40 degrees, like in my third hell week, we had a guy die of pulmonary edema, died out there in my third hell week. You have to really want whatever you're going for. If not, all these questions that come up, like you said, how you go one more step further, your mind's gonna ask you all these questions. How can you go one more step further? If you don't have the answers to that, and I can't give them to you, you have to know, why am I here? For me, when I was going through SEAL training, I was willing to die. So all these negative questions that kept on coming up in my head, I had the answer for them. It's those people that don't have the answer for those negative questions. And if you can't answer those questions, you will quit.
Life is suffering. Right. Indisputable. What do you do about that? You voluntarily accept it and then strive to overcome the suffering that's a consequence of that. And you do that for you, and you do that in a way that makes it better for other people. And then that works. And one question might be, well, how well does it work? And the answer is, the only way that you can find out is by trying it. That's it. That's the existential element of it. The proof is to be derived by the incarnation of the attitude in your own life. No one can tell you how it will work for you. It's the thing that your destiny is. To discover that, and you have to make the decisions to begin with. It's like, because you can't do this without commitment. See, the suffering, especially the additional suffering, the excess suffering, should be treated as evidence that you're not doing something quite right yet. It should be treated as evidence that you're wrong. There's something important that you're doing that's wrong. I understand how harsh that is, and I'm not saying that everyone who's suffering is suffering because they're doing something in some simple way that's wrong. If life isn't yet what it should be, then you have a primary responsibility to do something about it. And the place to start looking is to your own errors and to fix them. And that's a safe bet, man, because you're probably doing some things that you wouldn't have to be doing, that if you fixed would make things better. So it's time to let go and to sacrifice who you are for who you could become. The importance of what you learn is often proportionate to just how wretched it is to learn it. You learn things the hard way. You learn things by getting hit, because obviously, if what you're doing is working, you get what you want. There's no learning in that, and that's happy. It's when you're doing something and you hit an obstacle, and maybe you bloody well hit it hard, and then you recoil, and then down into the depths you go, and you have to sort yourself out, and you realize that you're this particular kind of idiot, and that you should probably fix that, and that's really annoying and difficult, and and maybe you're down in the dumps and anxious for quite a while, and then you get it repaired more or less, and you put yourself back together. That's the phoenix. Poof, into flames, bang, egg, new you. And so that's the ability to learn. Now, human beings are very strange creatures, right? Because we're very malleable compared to most animals. Learning is a strange thing, because could think of it as just acquiring more information. But you could also think of it, and this is more accurate, as finding out something that you're doing wrong, so that's sort of built into you, like a character element of your character, a presumption of your perception, or a deep habit. It's really built into you. It's a neural structure, right? It's alive, and you have to kill it because it isn't working properly. And the pain that you go through, in part, when you're suffering because you did something stupid, is the pain of the death of that structure. And that can be a huge chunk of you, you know, if you really have to go through a massive revision. It's like the person that comes out the other end might hardly be the same at all.